If you want to win a Mihawk, this is what you're going to want to do. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and listen up. All right, so what's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and today we're going to be talking about OP-11 pre-release. In today's video, we're really just going to cover all the cards that you should potentially use to build your deck. So pre-release events, for those who have never attended one, are typically sealed but can be constructed events. It is up to the TO. However, many do opt for the ever so popular sealed format. So previously and historically, sealed formats have been BYOL, bring your own leader. Now they add in to every kit the Luffy. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so everything you kind of need to know about the pre-release event. This is, of course, on the One Piece card game website, but you see here the release event. It's not even like, they're not even calling it pre-release. They're calling it a release event, and then like it says release event winner instead of pre-release, which I find incredibly interesting, even though they do start them the week before. So I don't know what's up with that rebranding, but typically, like you can see, constructed or sealed. Most tend to opt for sealed. And then also you get the release event pack, which is previously the pre-release event pack. I didn't attend the last one, so this might hold true for OP-10 as well. But typically when you participate, you get one of these promos. So you're going to get a Mihawk regardless. So you'll get this for your buggy deck. And then you'll get this Rainbow Luffy. So because they include these Rainbow Luffys now since OP-09, a lot of LGS have opted to use these. We'll touch on him just a little bit and cover that, talk about it. There are some cards you can add in, but overall, for the majority, the game plan is still pretty much the same. And you, of course, get these release packs, which come with 2 cards. You can also open these and use them, and they are, of course, stamped, which are really nice. And then winners will receive these nice Dracula Mihawks for their buggy decks. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. So let's talk about the leaders. We're going to talk about the leaders, and we're going to talk about the cards that you can put in. So let's go ahead and talk about the leaders. All right, so I'm going to keep this incredibly short and to the point, because historically, you know, there are a decent amount of leader options when it comes to the sealed, but the latest king of sealed has truly since PRB been Sanji. And so Sanji, when you play a character without an on-play, which more characters are also moving non-on-play direction, just thanks to Marshall D. Stinky. And so because of that, pretty much any body you play is going to have rush, and you're going to be able to attack consistently and provide an aggro that no other deck can match. It's essentially as if half the cards in your hand potentially have rush, and the vanillas have the best rush stats. And in a sealed format with limited removal, you get the instant value, and then you continually gain value while also continually swinging again. And it's essentially like arguably better than Eustass effect, because Eustass gives you 2 attacks. This gives you 2 attacks as well. You're going to play a character, get rush, and then you're going to attach on to your leader as well. Granted, not as impactful, but of course the body has the potential to stick, and then you get the swing with that one again. So a lot of value within this leader. Essentially, you can look for, if your locals is doing BYOL, bring your own leader, you can look forward to a lot of Sanji mirrors. Some people do decide to mix it up. So one of the just quick stats here is there are 21 blockers and 24 2Ks in this set, which is like incredibly unprecedented. That's a lot. That's a lot. If my counting was right, that's how many we have in this set, which is a lot, which makes this unideal for leaders like Yamato or even Nico Robin. You have a lot of blockers, so aggro, you know, is definitely like a want, and it's really good to kind of combat against aggro, so you could potentially play another leader like Eustass, because Eustass in endgame is just arguably the best leader, bar for bar. In endgame. And also, but like, yeah, pretty much if you pull vanillas or you pull non-on plays, if you pull vanillas, you want to play Sanji. If you pull no on plays, you want to play Sanji. And Sanji can really like make a deck. You know, you don't see any SRs, which has happened to me a number of times, and I've continually still managed to pull off wins. A lot of these events are going to come down to fundamentals: when you counter, when you take life, you know, when you protect board, making sure you can protect your board, because that's going to be the number one thing. is to win, you're going to need bodies on board. So you need to know when to take life. You need to know when to protect life and when to prevent yourself from being unlethal, and also when to establish these blockers. And we'll talk about like all the cards you can add in. But yeah, Sanji is incredibly powerful. You're going to be playing basic fundamentals. Same here with Old Reliable. I still stand by Eustass Kid. If you don't pull, like there are a lot of characters without on plays just because of Marshall D. Stinky. And so Eustass is a little bit less good just because like the double swing. If you pull really badly though, like Eustass can kind of just make up for it. But again, not a lot of these characters are having on plays these days. And so it's giving a lot more value to the Sanji. And, you know, he's probably like $1. Eustass is more. So Eustass actually went down in price a lot, I feel like, once Sanji kind of outshone him. But I still think this is an incredibly strong option if you don't own Sanji, or if, like, you know how to play Eustass Kid. I think you can still skill gap just a little bit, depending on the pilot, and potentially get there. And then Rainbow Luffy. So Rainbow Luffy is incredibly interesting because this is pure fundamentals. It's pure fundamentals, and it's pure just skill, which is like the argument behind this leader. I won an event playing with this leader, and I probably wouldn't have if we were playing with something else because I didn't have a Sanji. So piloting this, there are some cards in the set, like mostly the events. Mostly the events are going to be this, and then like the 10 Linland. The 10 Linland can be relevant as well. But very few cards I feel are truly impactful, but it does open up a lot of variety, and it's important to note because like you can meet a lot more requirements because he counts as every single thing in the game. And if it says if you control blank name card, you can have this counts. But if it says character, it does not. But if it says card with blank, this Luffy counts. So, like, the biggest one was Kung Fu Dugong, and you could play Dugong, and because your Luffy would count as a Dugong, you got blocker, because it said card. And so little things like that can come up. But let's go ahead and take a look at the cards in the set. All right, so we're going to take a look here at all of the cards. So we're going to talk about blockers and 2Ks. Any blocker in 2K, you're going to go ahead and add in. So here, of course, we're going to cover the blockers. So Smoker, he's a common and, you know, slightly good stats. So he's a swinger. He's a blocker. Really good. Doll is just a great card overall. If you're using the Rainbow Luffy, this card is actually incredibly powerful because you can use it to potentially clear a body on board when you play her as well, which can be incredibly impactful. So she's essentially like 6 free Dawn on a minus. So this can be incredibly powerful. Prince Gru is one of those 2Ks. Any 2K you're going to add into your deck, any card that says blocker, no matter what their stats are, we're going to add it in just because of how strong those are, especially in the late game, especially once we establish our big bodies, because there are big vanilla bodies. You know, we want to see like 7Ks, 8Ks, these game enders, 9Ks, anything like that, and then we want to see removals. So pretty much you want to prioritize 2Ks, blockers, and then after that you need beaters, you need big bodies, you need stats that are going to swing, and then you need removal. So you want 2Ks. Does it have counter? Yes. Is it 2K? Yes. And then does it block? Yes. Does it remove a body? Can I use it? Yes. Let's use those. And so you have Borsalino. This card's actually pretty cool. Again, this is relevant if you have Rainbow Luffy. A lot of these cards, especially this whole suite of cards, the sword and just navy cards added, are incredibly powerful in the Rainbow Luffy. And then we have Charlotte Praline, blocker, you know, just blocker, potential to rest a blocker. There is one cost blocker, I think, 2 1-cost blockers. Yeah, if you Pedro can become a blocker, so there's a couple 1-cost blockers, so this card can also be relevant for going for lethal. And then ETG is just a 7/7, but again, a 7/7 blocker actually isn't bad. It's a free block essentially every single turn, and it's a swinger when needed, so it can put on pressure and it can protect you. Yanji, blocker, we're gonna add him in. Nami's the blocker. This card is incredibly good. It's a value play. This card is incredibly good. All the super rares, for the most part, are usually insta adds into your deck. And we have Pedro. Pedro, 4 less cards. In late game, this will definitely be you. You spit out one of these huge value. 1 cost blockers are pain to deal with. But then, of course, there is the Charlotte Praline. Brook, that Gengar Brook blocker, potentially relevant as well. Place 1 character at the bottom of its owner deck. Pedro. So this card can also be removal. So this is like a double win. Monkey D. Luffy, Tank Man. This card 5/7, great blocker, and then you can either play you can either go big hand or play slim. Usually in the late game you're playing slim. In the early games I try to big hand depending on my leader, and depending of course on the cards in the set. But if you big hand, this card doesn't have as much value. But if you play slim, this card can have a ton of value. Don't try to play just to give this the ability to swing though. Taking that free block every turn, keeping a card in your hand can be incredibly impactful. And then, of course, we have Charlotte Katakuri. This card is this card is a game definer. If you see this, you probably win. If you see this and you play this on curve, you probably win because he can swing and then set himself as active. He can swing and set himself as active. So you can continually pressure your opponent and block an attack, and pressure your opponent and block an attack. This card is a game definer. Hannibal, he's just a blocker. Just a blocker. Caribou. This is a last resort blocker, but it is a 2K, so this is everything you want in one. Shirley, again, we have a lot of blockers this set. Blocker and, potentially cool. Possible search. Beji, blocker, and then, again, not super relevant. I don't even think we have any supernovas top of mind. Ripper, potential to be a blocker. If you see any of the Navy cards, even the red cards, any of those, he's going to become a blocker. So if you have room, you can add him in. And then Briscola, another blocker, just blocker basic. And then we've got Shu. And then this could potentially be relevant. Yep, blocker. 5/6 though, so it's a free blocker if they swing 5 with lead. Megalo, blocker. Again, a lot of blockers. That's all our blockers. Now we're going to take a look at the 2Ks. So we got Monboshi, and he's a vanilla, so you can use this effect. Zeus, this is the best removal card. This is an incredibly powerful removal card. This can be a 2K or play it, but if this is your highest priority 2K to keep, can be what you need to go for lethal. Chiffon, 5/6 vanilla, and Sanji. Kami, when your opponent activates a trigger, yeah, you don't want to use this. 2K. Otohime, 2K. Can be semi-relevant if you play Luffy, but 2K is just so valuable in this format. I just don't think you play him unless it's like the 5/6 for like a rush. Yeah, and then you got Aramaki, who's a 2K. I don't think you're going to use the effect. But you can use it to potentially, in the Rainbow Luffy, to potentially clear a blocker, a chump blocker. More vanillas. There's a lot of vanillas here. Again, this is just a 2K, but he's got good stats. 2K. 6/7 is a little bit better. Strusen, this card can be relevant if you want to go gambling to try to win. This can be a last resort attempt at a win. And if you nail it, you can kind of use the knowledge you have on the set, guess between 3 to 5, and you have a decent chance. Same here, just a 2K. Nothing really. And then Daifuku, vanilla. Lil Sadie, just a 2K. Bartolomeo, just a 2K. Tori, he's a 2K. Niji, he's a 2K. Reiju, 2K, but also a body, so this card is double playable. Goaty, I don't think you're gonna use this. Can be relevant, potential to be relevant if you have any of the other tank fire tanks, and then you happen to see something. But yeah, usually pretty irrelevant. And we've got Tony Chopper, Bokuwa Doctor, 2K, Surume, 2K. These are all your 2Ks. A lot of vanilla 2Ks again, so like a lot of vanilla 2Ks. X Drake. So there's a lot of 2Ks in this format. Frankie, 2K. Potentially good. But like we're not activating events. So like it's just better 2K in hand. Usopp, yep. Now let's go ahead and kind of talk about all the other cards, right? So this is one of those removal cards. Honesty Impact, this card is incredibly good. You can clear potentially 2 bodies. You KO 6K, you minus something by 4, you swing into it. This card is really good. You can also use it to clear blockers. Now, Nico Robin, also pretty decent. I think Nico Robin's a play because you can do minus, so it can help you clear board if needed. And it doesn't have an on play. So in Sanji, you could play this, spit it out, and then swing with your bigger body into it as well. So a lot of opportunity there, giving it -2. And then Habari, another great card on play, just -2, great for clearing boards. And then, of course, when attacking, it gains 1,000. And then, you have the potential Rainbow Luffy. So a lot of these Sword Navy cards, again, have that Rainbow Luffy Mocha. So now we got some regular vanillas, right? Not the ones that we know. Zoro's incredibly powerful. Can give him Rush. He's activate main, but you can also go... So you can go 5/7. He's essentially a 5/7, or you can go 6/6 at life. But there's a lot of 2K, so it's probably worth it to go 5/7. You've got Zephyr. Again, really good. Potential to minus an opponent. It does have to be special attributes, so you need to be very cognizant of that. There aren't too many that I can think of, but like things like Smoker are special, and it could be relevant and still just a decent body. And then we, of course, have Clay Web. So sometimes it's great to play the counter events as well. There are some that are leader specific, which can be good in the Rainbow Luffy. But you have Clay Web, you get a 2K, then you just get the gain of 1K if your opponent has a character. So you can gain 1,000 power during this turn, which can save you during a lethal turn, which could be incredibly important. So I think this card is worth playing if you see it and you have the room. Aladdin, really just a body here. Potential to be relevant. If they try to remove him with an effect, there is the potential for it to be relevant. If you have anything else to follow up, all these Fishman are pretty good. Arlong, again, you can just play this card, give it rest, but also that trigger can be incredibly impactful, resting a blocker and then going for lethal the next turn. And then, yeah, in Rainbow Luffy, he has the potential to be a 4 cost. And then, yeah, in Rainbow Luffy, this card is incredibly impactful. Yeah. This is cool in Rainbow Luffy, but it's still 4/6, decent body. We want those vanilla stats, and you can swing with it within Sanji. 6/7 Fisher Tiger can be relevant. Decent stats. Jinbei, great stats. Great stacks. And in Rainbow Luffy, broken. This card is just elite. Lord of the Coast. He's okay. Keeps damage off you. This card is really good. All the Fisherman cards are really good. This one you can't use unless you're playing Rainbow Luffy, but if you do, potentially Search, which can be good. Value plays. And then I think that, Ancient Weapon Poseidon, I think that these cards are so good, and they're all like commons rares, that it's potentially worth the play to Searcher. Just because, you got a 6/8, because it searches Sea Kings or Fishman Island. So all of these cards right here, which are all really good, depending, you can search one of these and play it. So I think that it's actually worth the argument to potentially play this. And then, of course, Judge, 6/8, no on play, so you can swing 8. Cool. 5/7, great. Hits like a brick train. This one does have an on play, but this card can remove a blocker. It is removal. It is great. We want to play it. 6/8. Swinging 8. Charlotte Oven. So this one's really cool. You can potentially KO a character, potentially KO a blocker. You have to gamble, though. But if you get it right, works out. Can also just swing 5. 5/7 activate main. Again, this is just a vanilla that you can swing with, put pressure on. Great stats. And then you have Gear 2. Gear 2 is a counter event. This is the best event. You're probably thinking if your leader is a blue. So one, you could use this the ramp, which could be obtuse rubber goose if you're playing Rainbow Luffy. But outside of Rainbow Luffy, you can just use it for a counter 3,000. Don't sleep on that. Garp is pretty good. Can be potential removal. I don't think there's any 9 call. I think the only, even Kobe's an 8. I don't think there's a 9 in this set. So, or there's Linlin. So Linlin potentially, but he has potential for removal. But 8/8 body. Morgan 6/8 broken. Maria 5/7 broken. Helmeppo, you're probably not going to use the ability. You just want him for the body if you see him and you need a body. Kuzan, again, just really for the body. You can trash 3 if you want to slim out your deck, get a better idea of what will be in there. And then, yeah, if you Rainbow Luffy relevance. Shakure 5/7. It's really what we want. Potential for Rainbow Luffy relevance. Neptune. I am Neptune. Shirahoshi, you know, Rainbow Luffy relevance. Otherwise, it's a 5/7. Ryuboshi 5/7. 3/5. 3/5. This card is incredibly good. The secrets are incredibly good. Because you can remove a blocker. You can trash 1 card from your hand, return up to 1 character to the owner's hand. Yeah, so you can potentially remove a blocker and then give 1 rested down to your leader. So you can swing wider. It has rush inherently, incredibly powerful game decider. Kobe! 9K, 6K leader is incredibly good. 6K leader is incredibly good. Establishing this and then becoming a 6K for the rest of the game potentially is very impactful as well. So this card is really good too. And then he can also, of course, potentially clear a body because you can attack. One of your characters can attack when your opponent's activated. So he clears a body and he makes you stronger. And so, of course, you want to use it so you get the buff or potentially buff him for that removal. And then we're looking at 2 more removal cards here. Just the Red Hawk. Rest 3 Dawn. So for 4 Dawn, if there's 5, you KO 5. So for 4 Dawn, you KO 5 cost, potentially removing that blocker, going for lethal, or removing that threat, keeping you alive. And it has counters, so it's incredibly powerful. Then Merman Combat Ultramarine. Add 1 character with a 6 cost or less face up to the top or bottom of the owner's life area. So there are a lot of 6 costs, a lot of 5/7s, a lot of 6/8s. This card can keep you alive. Tuck that in the life in the bottom and keep you alive. But yeah, that's essentially kind of what we want to do, how we want to build our deck, and then like how all these cards are kind of work with those leaders that we mentioned. If you're new to the channel and you found this content of value, if you could do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next one.